All right, everybody. Thanks for checking into our latest TDR Trade To Black podcast presented by Dutchie. I'm your host, Shad Dales. AV is off, and I think he's down in Columbia here today, but good for him. He's away, but all by myself today. But we got a good one here coming up. We're going to talk about, hey, look, we're talking about Veterans Day. It's coming up the next couple of weeks. I know a lot of people are asking, does rescheduling get announced in around that time? I'm not implying anything that will be announced. It's an interesting angle, but still, we don't know because the Trump administration has flirted with the idea of making sweeping drug policy shift changes through cannabis rescheduling, psychedelic medicine, all through the VA. So we want to find out if there's some truth to that, how much validity is there involved in that? And we're going to bring in our guest here today that's had frontline conversations with lawmakers out of Washington. We want to get a read on what he's seeing, what he's hearing, and some of the feedback, because I know a lot of you have asked a lot of questions that pertain to this. So with that, let's welcome him, the founder of No Fallen Heroes and former Top Gun fighter pilot, good friend of the podcast, back to the podcast, Matthew Whiz Buckley. Good to see you, my friend. This is going to be good. How are you?
I'm good, my brother. What's going on? Where are we in a fight again with our neighbors to the north? My God, man.
Well, I actually, I know the guy that basically put the ad together. He is the lead communications director for Premier Ford. I actually had a conversation with this morning, and I texted him. I'm saying, what did you guys do? What are you doing?
I go to bed watching the Panthers lose to the Penguins, and I wake up and now we're shooting at each other again across the border. I'm like, what happened overnight?
So I asked him the question. He's just like, we punched a bully in the face, and now he's acted like, I won't say some of the terms or words, but I don't know, man. If you're showing up to a gunfight with a set of water balloons, how much leverage do you have?
Never a dull moment, man.
Yeah, no worries, man. But yeah, at the same time, after this live stream, I'm calling up my immigration lawyer saying, where is that, file of mine? It's advancing quickly because, yes, keep that house next door. That might be up for sale, buddy, because I hope to be your neighbor relatively soon.
So this, and then the New York City socialist dude is the best thing to happen to Boca Raton real estate in ever.
I bet. I bet. Do you still see a lot of that? A lot of people, like, in the early COVID days, I know the market was red hot, white hot, kind of settled a little bit. But from what I'm seeing and hearing in Florida, like a setback in Florida, it's not like a setback in Michigan. But
well, did you see what DeSantis said the other day?
What?
He's putting it's official. It's going on the ballot next November to get rid of property taxes, man. The amount of property tax I spend on this place is somebody's full-time job. To put that back in my pocket will be obscene. You will not be able to keep people out of Florida with the socialist mayor in New York and trade wars across the border and no property taxes.
We have property taxes. And in Ontario, we also have what's called a land transfer tax. So when you sell your home, a land transfer tax, just by selling your home, you have to pay a tax on top of that. Think about that. So there's a tax on top of a tax, and you just keep getting taxed. This is Canada for you. But
come to Florida, my brother. The water's warm.
Yeah. Well, they're also not happy. They're thinking that Prime Minister Carney is not playing hardball enough. But I'm like, at the end of the day, it's just like, okay, let's walk before we run. We're coming up with a solution. Can you imagine Carney right now trying to meet with Trump over in Asia for these global meetings that are taking place? I can't imagine being in that room going, what the fuck just happened here? What are you doing? Yeah. Thanks, Premier Ford, says Prime Minister Carney. You put me in a good spot. But regardless, we need more people in Florida, writes one of our followers. Yes. Hope to get down there. But listen, I know there's been a lot.
And by the way, real quick, Lord Stanley lives in Florida for the past 5 years. He's a Florida resident. So.
And maybe again this year. My gosh, like, look at this team on paper. How do you beat that team? And
I mean, Marchand almost. Did you see the Boston game, man?
I was going to say,
I had tears in my eyes.
Shout out to all the Boston people that watched this live stream. I have to admit, well done on behalf of Boston. Man, he was choked up. His number will go in the rafters up in Boston. But my God, man.
I never thought I'd say this in my life, but Boston fan, what a class act that whole thing was. Now I'm back to hating them. But for that moment, they were all right in my book.
You got to admit, though, Brad Marchand, the way he presents himself on the ice, I think fans see a little bit of themselves in Brad, just the way he plays. He's got scrapper, grit. You're not
the biggest guy, not the fastest guy, but the hardest worker. Nobody's going to outwork him on the ice, and there's something to be said for that. Yeah.
You're not better than me, says a Boston person, right? Anyway.
I've never heard that.
was it not Amy Poehler, when she was on the Golden Globes, and it was the year that Argo was nominated for a Golden Globe, and she made some jabs because they were both from Boston to Ben Affleck, and she went off on stage saying, yeah, you think you're cool and everything getting nominated, but you're not better than fucking me. And anyways, they were kind of laughing, but I'm like, that's a Boston angle for you, though, right?
That sounds about right.
If you want to know if you're making big, sit beside an Irish person and he'll tell you flat out where you actually sit, right?
Yeah, of course, an Irishman to talk to his equal, of course he talks to God, right?
Yeah. All right, Tom, I'll get to it. Right, Tom, we'll get into it. But listen, there's been a lot of talk, a lot of conversation about this Trump administration making sweeping drug policy changes towards psychedelic medicine, cannabis rescheduling. Have you at all, I know you've had conversations with a lot of lawmakers, but what is some of, the feedback, dialogue that you're seeing, hearing that makes you think that change could be on the horizon?
Back in May, I was super excited, right? As you and I debriefed, I went up and met with Secretary Collins, the Secretary of Veterans Affairs. Yeah. I never thought I'd walk into the VA. If I thought I'd go into the VA building, it would have been as a protester or something like that. But he reached out to me and said, Whiz, we want to get you on board. We want to get psychedelics to veterans, and you'd be a great guy to have on our team. Then he was in a cabinet meeting. I fell out of my chair when President Trump asked, what's up with veteran suicide? I'm like, I've never heard a president use those two words together. And Collins said, Mr. President, we're throwing money at it. The numbers are staying the same or they're going up. But there are some good nonprofits out there doing some good work with psychedelics. We're going to have to study and look into it, but it's promising. Man, I could not have been more bullish. My God. There's 11 trials right now with psychedelics at the VA. Now, I don't call them psychedelics. We can get into a dogfight with everybody else right now. And they're mainly MDMA studies. I 1000% believe we should not have led with stuff made in a lab with a dude in a lab coat and a beaker. We should have led with the plants. The FDA, what was it, last August or however long ago, when it booted, MDMA, mainly the holes that they shot in it was, recreational stigma or this or that or the other thing. There ain't no recreational stigma with the Ibogaine that I did with Marcus Luttrell and Jared Taylor.
Can I ask you real quick, is that having an effect right now with what the outcome of that was last summer? Are we seeing the consequences from that now?
Well, it's a different administration. Secretary Collins looked me in the eyes and he said, Whiz, if anybody's going to do this, it'll be us, and it's going to be now. Now, I got it wrong, Shad. From 2020 to 2024, I thought the Democrats were already there.
No, I got it.
Hippies, mala beads, and drug rugs. I thought they were the party of psychedelics and let's go. Wrong. During my visits to DC, talking to these folks, they were the ones in bed with Big Pharma.
Yeah.
The one congressman who shall remain nameless behind closed doors who said, Whiz, I love what you're doing. And I'm like, all right. He said, well, you're going to have a problem with the Big Pharma and the alcohol and tobacco folks. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm going to have a problem. Isn't that your job?
Yeah.
So I don't, there ain't nothing recreational about Ibogaine, 5-MeO-DMT. I mean, you can take some mushrooms and go to a concert, but even psilocybin's not that much recreational. So the MDMA studies that are going on, I'm hearing good things about it. But I'm telling you, man, the slow roll of this, 22 veterans are going to die today, man. The slow roll is Big Pharma. Yeah. And you know me, man, I'm bipolar. I teach people how to trade. I got a ton of MindMed, a ton of ATAI over here I'm looking at. But it's all Big Pharma. Who was it? Gilgamesh a couple of weeks ago. AbbVie,
yes,
came in and stroked a check for $800 million.
Think about that.
I forget the name of the drug. It's a phase 2.
I know.
And they only they got 44 people in this phase 2. For the folks that are new, phase 1, a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of stuff. If you make it to phase 2, a lot of money, time, stuff. Phase 3, then it's a new drug application. This ain't phase 2's like all
phase
the way at the
trials
beginning.
Get bigger, more people, but the cost is through the roof, hundreds of millions of dollars. But phase 3, if you package it the right way, it's not a matter of if, but when you get a drug identification number. It's very, very strong. But going back to my original point, you made progress. You saw this cabinet meeting. When was that? What was the timeline on that?
That was May, right? So
May.
And I got home from that trip, and I think like a week after I got home from DC, that's when RFK Jr. came out publicly. I have it on my Instagram, his exact quote: "I want to get psychedelics in the hands of veterans in the next 12 months." That was 3 months ago, man.
Do you still feel like, look, there's been a lot of stuff that's happened, but I think that can't be an excuse, because there's always going to be something happening. And like, we've obviously put a lot of time and energy and focus on cannabis rescheduling. We saw an announcement at a presser meeting back on August the 11th, and I thought this is good for both spaces, both cannabis and psychedelics. We could be looking at things differently. Trump said that we will have an answer within a few weeks, but here we are, the end of October. I still believe something is going to happen. I just don't know when the timeline is going to be. Like, does it not make sense to announce it now? People are saying later on, leading into the midterms, but think of all the stuff that you could implement now, use this as case studies, and actually incorporate that kind of information on the campaign trail. Am I not wrong to think that?
You nailed it. If anybody on this stream knows the president and can get to him, please let him know. Hey, Mr. President, the border's shut, right? Nice job shutting the border. It's not shut. There are veterans in this country sneaking south into Mexico to heal their trauma they incurred serving this one. That guy would flip his wig if he heard that veterans were being forced to leave this country. I guarantee you nobody's told him that. The dude's got a printer in the Oval Office next to his desk with executive orders that fly off. He needs a new box of pens every day. He would flip his wig if he heard that veterans were being forced to leave this country to heal. He would act. So I don't think anybody's got to him yet with that type of blunt directness,
Are you trying to get to that? Because you've made appearances on CBS, Megyn Kelly, you're on Fox, you're building a name. People are starting to understand more and more about who you are, what you represent. Your background speaks to what Trump, who he wants to speak with. Is that the goal, to eventually get a chance to speak with the president? And if so, I assume that this is what you would share.
Well, I might not get an invite now, Shad, because about, 3 weeks ago, I took a flamethrower to Secretary Collins. I'm going to read this text I got.
Farewell. Yeah.
The son of friends, very close friends of mine, committed suicide on Friday. I spoke with my friends and with his name about no fallen heroes, but he was afraid to do anything that might jeopardize his VA disability. Here's his obituary. They were asking in lieu of flowers, donations be made to no. So this is an Army veteran, Iraq and Afghanistan, suffering horrific trauma. The parents knew about our mission and potential healing. He knew about it. He was a husband, a father, and a son. And he killed himself because he was scared what would happen to him if the VA found out. Wow. It broke my heart.
Yeah, of course it would.
I sent him a message. Nothing. I sent his chief of staff that I met with a message. Nothing. Now I said, you know what, Whiz? They're busy people. Even though I didn't say that to myself, technically, I'm like, it's fucking veteran suicide, dude. It doesn't get any more higher on your list to do. But I gave him a week. I said, maybe they're busy. Maybe they'll read this some other time. Nothing. So then I shot a video on social media, tagged him, begged viewers to tag him and everything to try and get something. Zero. So Shad,
so what do you think's happening then? What do you think's happening?
Here's what's happening, man. And again, I stopped going to DC because these people are disgusting. This other congressman told me when I briefed him on the veteran suicide numbers, he was like, looking at his watch. It was like Joe Biden at Dover. He's like, oh yeah, okay. Anything else? I'm like, you talking about anything else? So I actually pulled out my talking points. I'm like, okay, the dude doesn't really care about the deaths. I said, well, the VA spends $250 billion a year on PTS therapy medications and stuff. He leaned forward in his chair. He's like, okay, yeah. Well, now you're talking. I'm like, now I'm talking?
Right.
And you ready for this? He goes, all right, well, so Whiz, you're healed, right? I'm like, man, I was healed. He's like, so technically, we heal these guys. We don't have to pay their disabilities going forward. I'm like, oh my God, it doesn't get any more evil than this.
He said that?
So Shad, hand to God, man. I got up and left. My other buddy kind of stayed. So that's how they think.
That is their mentality.
Hey, sorry you suffered for the past 10 to 15 years with PTSD and horror, and this stuff cured you. now the check that you get every month that was sustaining you, we're taking because you're cured. I'm like, oh my God. How about we call it a thank you payment? We keep paying you. But folks, this is how I know that this is coming, because they're already starting to ask this type of stuff. Like, well, if we cure these guys, they're not going to need their disability payments. Oh, I'm telling you, bro, it was
President Trump needs to know about this, because he wouldn't react that way. I don't think.
No, he'd call it a thank you payment. Like, of course you're going to still keep getting your disability payment, but you're not disabled anymore. We healed you with these sacred sacraments. It's a thank you payment from the American people.
So why don't you think, like you said, like, I don't know if I'll be invited back, but I don't know. Like, it's just like get through these gatekeepers. It's just like go to the source. But it's like, how do you do that sort of thing?
Chad, you know me, man. If you, as long as you lead with your heart and your truth, you can never fail. So you ready for this? I don't know if I briefed you on this yet. 4 months ago, I started Sacred Warrior Fellowship. We're an entheogenic church in the great state of Florida. I was an Irish Catholic altar boy. I was molested. My sister was killed by a drunk driver. And I'm like, there ain't no God. Right. 40 years later, on a mattress in Mexico, there is a God. And he healed me and reconnected. It was the most spiritual thing that's ever happened to me. So guess what I'm doing in the United States? I defended the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of a religion or the free exercise thereof. I defended that thing for 15 years. Now I'm going to exercise it. So I started an entheogenic church. I'm going to heal our heroes at home. I'm not going to a clinic in Mexico. We're not going to Costa Rica. We're going, matter of fact, Susie and I are leaving at 4 this afternoon to help 6 veterans sit in ceremony this weekend. So I'm not waiting, man. I always remind people, this is a we the people moment.
Yeah.
This ain't coming from them down.
Yeah.
This has got to come from us up. Last month, I was in Houston at an Americans for Ibogaine fundraiser with Governor Rick Perry. Doesn't get any more Republican or law and order than that dude. 2-term governor from Texas, energy secretary under Trump, ran for president. Morgan and Marcus Luttrell there, Dan Crenshaw. There was some administration officials there. They asked us not to tell their names, so I won't, but high-level administration officials. So I don't know. Shad, it's a circular firing squad right now. Somebody needs to stand up in the middle of it and go, it's okay, go, do it. And that's got to be Trump. I'd love to get to him, or somebody needs to get
I know. There's been talk and chatter online in our community in the last few weeks, and it's about, could we see a rescheduling announcement or some sort of sweeping drug policy shift change on Veterans Day of this year? Would make sense from a PR standpoint and the whole angle, but conversations I've had with many people that do have some of these connections to Washington is, look, if we knew something like that was happening, you'd probably start to hear a little bit of rumors. There's nothing going on right now. And as much as
I've heard the same thing, man, it would be nice to have and stuff like that. I haven't heard it from any of the heavies that I've talked to. And, Crenshaw and Morgan and Marcus and Perry would probably know something like that. And I haven't heard anything.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. Do you feel confident that something is going to happen?
Absolutely. I have no doubt. I mean, you know me, man. I'm that weird guy that the day RFK said, I want psychedelics for veterans in the next 12 months, I opened my calendar, went 365 days in the future, and added a flame RFK Jr. online if this doesn't happen. So I'm going to hold their feet to the fire. Clearly, my video telling the secretary about this death didn't get to him, but I don't care. We're just going to keep the heat on.
What do you make of this, though? When we look at a lot of the Chinese drug cartels that are in the U.S. right now, there was a story about, I think there was as many as 300 to 400 illegal cannabis grows in the state of Maine alone. We had Steve Robinson on from the Maine Wire, which was mind-blowing. But when you see this controversial stuff that's happening in the Caribbean with these boats being blown up and this whole law and order and shutting down the borders, when you see all these moving parts, do you think this is a calculated effort to set up the actual announcement for when it does happen? Is there any correlation there, or reading it wrong?
Man, that's a MacGyver, bubblegum string and a straw. Yeah, I don't know, man. You know what's funny though, Chad? Not to get too political on my soapbox, but I'm old enough to remember President Barack Hussein Obama killed Americans in drone strikes. These were U.S. citizens. I get that they picked up arms and they were overseas fighting and stuff like that, but Nowhere in the Constitution does it. No indictment, no trial, no. He was judge and jury. People forget that he killed 4 Americans.
Wow.
And the same people that are like frothing at the mouth about Trump. How about last week, the narco submarine? Those poor fishermen on their submarine. I'm like, it's a fucking submarine, man. What are you talking about? How do you fish off a submarine? But they cheered Obama when he did it in the past. And I remember I was in the military at the time. I'm like, I mean, they picked up arms against their own country, the kind of enemy combatants. I probably would have smoked them too. But is that constitutional? How do you kill? How's the president just kill Americans? And today these people are like, Trump. I'm like, okay. I don't like hypocrisy, man.
Yeah.
Period.
One of our viewers writes, every VA doctor I meet with is positive about reform, but their hands are tied. That actually is probably a good point. Can you comment on that?
Bro, when I was in DC at one end of the avenue, the congressmen and the senators and all the heavies looked at me and said, well, Whiz, we love it. You got to go talk to the VA. Right. I went to the VA, and what did the VA tell me? Whiz, we'd love to do this. You need to talk to the lawmakers. It's a self-licking ice cream cone. It really is a stupid standoff with two ends of an avenue looking at each other like, well, they're supposed to tell us. That's why I say somebody's got to stand up in the middle and go, execute, go. And it's got to be Trump. I mean, if the HHS secretary says, yay, psychedelics for veterans, the VA secretary says it, who's left? Why isn't this going?
Yeah.
And it's President Trump. I mean, hell, JD Vance was on the Rogan podcast when he was senator, a year ago, running as VP. Rogan gave him a 15-minute brief in that podcast on psychedelics for veterans, and good on Vance for admitting he's like, I didn't know any of this stuff, man. But he's up to speed.
That was an eye opener. And
how about Pete Hegseth last November?
Not to mention his mother is an addict as well. JD Vance.
Exactly right. Yeah. So when Hegseth, before he was nominated for SecDef or Sec War, was on the Sean Ryan podcast. And he said, Sean Ryan went where I went, gave the same story I gave. And Pete Hegseth said, man, I haven't done it. I've heard a lot of my bros who have, and it saved and changed their lives. We need this for veterans. So you have the Secretary of War, the Vice President, the HHS Secretary, and the VA Secretary. Doesn't get any more than those 4 heavies in the government, and we're not doing anything.
Well, I think the big thing here is that the key here is that you believe, and I think a lot of people do believe, that change is coming. It just can't come fast enough. And when change or delays happen, people start to doubt because of previous administrations. But I do feel like, what is it going to take, for them to finally make an announcement? Because I do think it's coming. I just have no idea when.
Man, I would have thought the deaths would have moved the needle. Like with that congressman I was briefing, or my video to Secretary Collins weeks ago saying, hey man, a guy just killed himself. It was a preventable suicide. What are you doing? Cricket. So it's a lack of leadership. So long answer to your short question to open the show. You said, well, how do you feel? Well, I was super bullish. Now I'm in a little bit of a lull. Yeah. But if I project my thoughts forward in space and time, 6 months to a year, it's yes.
Yeah.
I mean, my buddy down in Texas, Justin Lepre, he runs the Illuminating Collective. He's a Marine combat veteran from Fallujah, Austin Fire Department. He just did the first Ibogaine retreat under a entheogenic church in the United States. So Justin and I are leading on the church side, man. We're getting there.
I was in Berlin, Germany, back in June. I actually got a chance to interview Mike Tyson. Had some great conversations with him about psychedelics. And he'd asked me if I ever tried DMT. And I'm like, no, I have not done that. But he was saying, as soon as he did that, it cured basically his alcohol obsession. Hasn't drank in I don't know how many years, but,
Easily. 5-MeO DMT was the most violent spiritual experience of my life. As a 52-year-old man, I did a flip in a bed. Not into a pool. This was in a bed, folks.
Wow.
And it was an exorcism. I don't remember doing it, obviously. It was an exorcism. I'm glad you bring that up because I'm actually partnering with Dr. Martine Polanco from the Mission Within. Okay. Our church is actually going to do a study with 10 of the Camp Mystic survivors. Remember Camp Mystic in Texas, the floods and children? We are doing, under Sacred Warrior Fellowship, a 5-MeO DMT grief study with 10 of these incredible women. and we're using the sacrament of Bufo. So had a great call. Tomorrow we are moving forward to do this study with these women. It's transformational, Shad. And again, 5 years ago, Whiz, if I heard me on your stream talking like this, I would have kicked my own ass.
Yeah,
but that guy died on the floor of a home in Mexico, surrounded by some really brave guys who I didn't think I deserved to be in the same room with.
Well, kudos to you and everything that you stand for. The Dank Informer, good to see you this morning. He's talking about the key is to stop the dirty marijuana money laundering behind the 2018 Farm Bill hemp loophole. America's cannabis policy is idiotic at best. Yeah, I don't know how much you've seen this whole hemp synthetic. By the way, Dank Informer, I have a call with the CEO of MC Nutraceuticals, Brett Worley, today at 1 o'clock. Want to be on that call? Anyways, but yeah, like there's so much chaos going on the state level right now. And, you know, in addition to psychedelics, I think there's the proper research that's got to be taking place for cannabis as well. And I think, you know, you see veterans that are looking to, in some ways, look at that that pathway as well. But you can't.
And it's cool, you know, Shad, the first, for lack of a better word, first psychedelic revolution, hippies, drug rugs, malabeads, anti-war. God kind of this time around said, you know, who's going to maybe lead this second psychedelic revolution? Our veterans.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think too highly of myself, and Marcus Luttrell wouldn't either. But if mom and pop walking down the street can go, wait a minute, these guys said this stuff healed them. Well, maybe I'll be open to it. Right. So we're getting there. Right. And veterans don't do anything unless another veteran vouches for it. If some malabead wearing drug rug hippie told me to go do Ibogaine, I would have laughed in his face. Since a veteran buddy told me, like, dude, you need this, I'm like, all right, I trust you. So,
you know, Whiz, I was talking to a guy from Oklahoma last week, and we were talking about some of the licenses that these cannabis programs were giving out back in the day when medical cannabis was passed in Oklahoma. They were $2,500. They were charging illicit Chinese grows $75,000 a license, and these lawmakers were giving it to them. Think about that. This is what's going on. So where's that extra $72,500 going?
Wow.
And like this is the stuff that's so corrupt. But as we go down this road more and have these conversations, platforms like mine and other podcasts are getting bigger and bigger as far as audience. I think the normal television now is YouTube versus traditional TV, which is why in a lot of ways the Democrats are completely clueless on who's leading the party, and they don't know how to like connect with everyday Americans. But more and more,
Shad, you know, you've seen me a bunch talking, you know, Fox or whatever about airline disasters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
My producer's like, hey, we're prepping the battlefield so we can, you know, push your mission in psychedelics. I'm like, okay, I'll do all these hits then. Guess what? They're like, no. Because why? Evening News. We'll be right back after this word from Pfizer. There is all the drug makers sponsor the mainstream media news. They ain't talking about psychedelics until Pfizer comes in and buys a tie with a big check. And then you'll hear nonstop psychedelics on mainstream news. But until then, you got to hear it on stuff like you, because the drug makers are paying the news programs.
Yeah. Pat Schwartz, right? Why is Dank getting chat on is what he says. Dank is doing a loyal thing right now, and anytime he wants to you know, I guess rock the boat in a good way, you're always going to get people that are going to be haters out there. But as we say in the media industry, if they love you, great. If they hate you, great. If they don't know you, that's a bad thing. So whatever you're doing, the Dank Informer, keep going. Listen, I wanted to ask you, are you familiar with this thing called Project Odin?
I'm waiting for my invite, man. I was in the New York Times. I was on Fox News, and I still haven't heard a single word from the Oversight Committee. So long answer to your short question. Yeah, I lived it.
Yeah. Is there any data that you could share about the Navy's internal data? Do you know of or not really?
No, that's the problem is Congress is like, wait, you guys did this study? You knew fighter pilots are getting the shit kicked out of them and you hid it. The Oversight Committee is trying to subpoena Navy admirals who did a study and didn't even tell us.
Why?
So no.
Why?
Because it's bad. Because the same Navy admirals go to Paramount, the opening premiere of Maverick, and they're good friends with Tom and Jerry Bruckheimer. And the Navy needs recruiting posters of Maverick. They don't need Whiz on your podcast going, man, brain injuries, slamming aboard a carrier, fighting the jet on the edge of consciousness, a drunk, and 16 deaths and 4 suicides. That's not a recruiting poster.
You're right.
You know what's funny, man? It's because somebody gave me shit online when I said something like, "Oh, you'd still would have done it anyway." I'm like, "Yeah, you're probably right. I would have, but I would have been armed for the transition instead of the drugs and the alcohol and laying on my bathroom floor with a gun. I would have been like, wait, I'm probably not alone, and my bro might be going through this too. Let me call him."
Yeah.
No. So I probably still would have done this all, but I would have been better prepped for the landing. And I can guarantee you, Shad, there are people out there that if you did give them the full, this is what could happen to you, that might push some people not to do it. Right. So don't give me shit for, you probably still would have done it, Whiz. I'm like, well, give me the choice.
That's a tough situation to be in, because I can understand their point. That's just at what cost, I guess you're recruiting. But what was Ed Harris's comment to Tom Cruise, that first scene, that humans are going to be pretty much irreplaceable? It's going to be all about drones. Like,
we're getting there, man. If you can dream
maybe if we used AI smart, we would keep jobs for people, and then the AI portion would just be like, all right, buddy, there's a plane, now go. Right.
Yeah. There's some bad shit going on in the defense industry with AI and how to kill another human. It'll curl your toes. The things
I've been watching some stuff about super intelligence and where we're 5 to 6 years away. And when it starts creating these formulas where it becomes too complicated for a human, but they figure it out, I'm just like, okay, I'm putting my phone down now. Like, this is wild.
It's become, it's Cyberdyne or whatever is active or something like that. It's bad, man. I tell people there's two charts. There's a chart of the world and AI and everything like this going into the dirt. And here's the rise of these healing and plant medicines.
Yeah.
I will preach. You can put this on my tombstone, man. One of the reasons these sacraments remain illegal is because they can turn warriors into peacemakers.
Yeah.
I have seen meat-eating, knuckle-dragging killers on the other side of the sacrament be like, oh my God, I can't even believe that was me, or I did that. So that's what's interesting about these MDMA studies on active duty people. What if the studies to the generals are like, well, they're all peaceful now and they don't want to go kill people? Whoa. They need their killing machines, man. So those MDMA studies might not turn out the way the military wanted them to.
What do you think of RFK Jr.? And I would assume that you like the idea of him being the head of the HHS and his effort and support for psychedelic medicine. He talks about it personally, and I think it saved his son's life after his mom had passed away, which was great to hear and see. But I think in a lot of ways with the VA, he's probably got his hands tied to a certain point. But if you were sitting in a room right now and guessing, like, what do you think some of the conversations he's had, do you think, with President Trump about psychedelics, or has he had those, you think, at all?
No, I thought President Trump said something like that. It wasn't about psychedelics, but it was about his addictions and stuff.
Yep.
And how he cleaned up and was good to go. That video you're alluding to where he talks about his son being saved with psychedelics after the suicide of his mom. He's like, when the interviewer initially asked, like, what do you think about psychedelics? He's like, well, I'm a recovering heroin addict and alcoholic. I think it's the dumbest thing in the world until it saved my son's life.
Yeah.
So it doesn't get any more of a testimonial than that. I think RFK Jr. is great. My contacts at ATAI, MindMed, some of the other companies have been blown away because they've been getting phone calls from the government and the FDA. Who was it? MindMed got a call like, hey, how's that phase 3 trial going? You guys need anything? Can we get you some coffee? What do you need?
Yeah.
And it's usually, wait, the FDA's calling, we're in trouble. I know for a fact the FDA is reaching out to the psychedelic companies going, hey, when's that phase 3 trial going to be done?
Are they really?
Oh, yeah. I know firsthand for a fact. And these psychedelic companies are like, holy crap, this is fantastic. They're reaching out to us in a positive way, not we got to call them or chase or ask for things. Well, I know that for a fact. That's why I bought some more MindMed.
I'm looking at an email right now. Christian Agermar sent at me. This was the 21st. This is 3 days ago. The FDA granted breakthrough designation for BPL-003. It's a major recognition of the science and potential catalysts of the regulatory path forward. For anybody new, Christian Egermar is the chairman of ATAI Life Sciences. They completed $9.5 million equity raise led by Jefferies together with Berenberg, Oppenheimer, Canaccord, and Lucid. So You can
those aren't small. That's not a mom and pop shop.
With this capital, ATAI now has enough runway into 2029, including getting to top line readout of the first phase 3 trial for BPL-003. So is that, if memory serves me correctly, I think that's scheduled for 2027, if I'm correct, or
6
maybe
or 7. Yeah.
So we are on the verge, because when I look at MindMed and ATAI, I think was trading below $2 less than 6 months ago, and I think it flirted with 675, if I'm correct.
Yep.
Earlier this week. So I know you always love a CEO or a chairman who's backing up his own company. I know he was doing some buying.
He's got a ton of money in that company, man.
Tons.
Yeah.
So
and you know me, Shad, I run TOPGUN options. I'm an options trader. You can go out you can hop in your time machine right now or grab some psychedelics. You can go all the way out to January of 2028 and buy some, the stock's at 575 right now. Buy some $12 call options. They're $2. Buy a shitload of those, put them in your filing cabinet, man.
And what year is that for? That's for 2028?
That's on the options chain. You can go all the way out to January of 2028. Yep.
And those are trading for $2 right now.
The $12 strikes are $2. Absolutely.
Hey, listen, I got to learn some things from you, because I bought some option calls for September, rolled them into October, and now I've rolled them into December for cannabis. And I'm just seeing my portfolio kind of go down, because I thought, we could get an announcement soon. But
are you selling calls against those to help pay for them?
No, I'm losing money.
Oh, dude, we got to talk. What are you doing?
I know. Well, then I'm looking at it, people are saying, there could be an announcement by year's end when it comes to cannabis. And I'm like, oh my God, I bought calls for December 19th. So it's becoming a little frustrating. So
no, dude,
when you get somebody new, like when you're buying like your strategy, are you always looking at like a time frame to say 6 months, 12 months, a year out, 2 years out? Like, what's the formula?
Well, if it's unknown, right? Like, man, I don't know when an announcement's going to come. You want to give yourself as much time as possible for that to work, right? So if you thought there was going to be an announcement in the next 3 to 6 months, you should have bought year-out call options instead of 3 to 6 months. Always give yourself a little bit more runway just in case. Shad, I'm cheap, man. Any options tactic that I employ, I never just buy call options, man. I can teach you the tactics that somebody's going to help subsidize that. I got you, man. Trust me.
All right. Yeah. People want to learn more as far as your options trading school. Where do they find you?
Yeah, TOPGUNoptions.com. We just did a full week of live trading and training. Wednesday, I covered MindMed and ATAI tactics. So you know what? Actually go to, let me give you the website. It's go.topgunoptions.com/FT-replay. That stands for full throttle-replay.
Okay.
And let me put that in there. And you watch the one from Wednesday on ATAI, and I'll teach you how to
just click on. Do you have the option to click on private chat? I want you just to enter that information in right now, and then I'll have.
Oh yeah, there it is.
I'll have my producer actually put it in on the lower thirds right now. So
watch Wednesday's brief. It says it on there. ATAI and MindMed. Shad, you should watch it, because I show you can buy some call options into the future, sell half of them against it. Remember, whenever you buy something, it's what? It's a debit. You got to pay out. When you sell something, you bring in money. So you can sell some upside calls against that long call and cut your price maybe even in half. And remember, there's something called theta, time decay. When you buy something, a car or those options, it depreciates. So if you continually sell some against it, you'll pay those calls off. You wouldn't be worried about your calls going down because they were free. I got you, man. Watch that replay. I'll hook you up.
Mitch writes, I like the January 27th 5 strike and 28 8 strike. What's that for, Mitch? Is that for MSOs, or is that for a particular psychedelic stock? Let me know.
I think he's talking about ATAI. He's probably doing ATAI.
Oh, is he? Yeah, he's probably, because I don't know January 27th or 28 strike calls for MSOs. All right, the ETF.
Oh, MSOs? Okay.
I've had a couple of people are actually right. ISOL, ISOL. I do remember that company. I don't know much about it, though. Can you maybe fill me in a little bit more? Elmira, do you know ISIL? ISIL? Does that ring a bell?
I don't trade any of those, man.
No, don't know much. Isidol. Yeah, I do remember that company. ISODIOL. Is it Isidol Therapeutics? Anyway, no.
Hey, Global 3659 gets it. Called a poor man's covered call. I love it. There's at least one options trader in here. I love it.
Nice.
Good man.
Isidol is the full name. Sorry, we don't know much about it. It's hold for 5 years. Well, I actually spoke to Doug Drysdale, former CEO of Cybin. He's helping out with a small pubco company, non-psychedelic, called Better Pharma. I don't know if you know them at all, but anyway, there's been some changes. But really, I think in the landscape of some of these psychedelic stocks right now, we're seeing the ETF P-Cell. It's slowly but surely climbed over the last few months.
It's up 3% today, man. Yeah, it's had a nice run.
Yeah.
You know what sucks about P-Cell is there's barely little options activity, right? And it doesn't trade that much shares either. So you and I, if everybody in this room right now went and bought 1,000 shares of that, the ETF would probably pop about 5%. We could move the market in that name.
So walk me through then again here. You're buying calls going out to 2028. If one of these stocks actually does hit and gets FDA approval, which you think obviously with some of the calls and feedback that you're getting and the data that continues to provide, like there has been prescription drugs that have gotten approved where you see market caps. And I don't want to fantasize where I'm going with this, but there has been drugs that have had billions and billions of dollar valuations when it comes to market caps. Like, what are we looking at here, especially when you look at AbbVie in a phase 2 and the amount of money that was written there? And Christian has actually said, I'm not selling my company. I am going to utilize big pharma when it comes to commercialization of the drug. So when you look at that, you look at they have enough runway till 2029. Like, what are we looking at big scale here when it comes to an investment opportunity like ATAI?
Man, your ears are burning because Tuesday night, before I was doing my prep to talk about ATAI and MindMed in my Wednesday morning brief, we did all this math, man. Let's just take a current example. Spravato. Look at Janssen and Spravato. S-ketamine, dude. $1.5 billion product a year right now in Spravato. And they're actually doing a hockey stick in the future.
They are.
We ran numbers with ATAI. If the BPL in a blue sky world, it's a $3.5 to $5 billion product line based on how Spravato's done. So and not to badmouth Spravato or S-ketamine, the cure or healing rate is like 7 to, I think the highest I've seen is low teens, like 12%. Yeah. When you look at MM120 and some of these other psychedelic compounds, 65, 80. 80% of the people in the study were cured of their generalized anxiety disorder. I'm like, did you just say 80 or 8? No, it was 80. I'm like,
so if you're doing annual revenue of 3.5 to 5 billion, like what kind of valuation would you give off? Like how do big pharma like that's
well, Shad, let's not even finish that question because now you just answered why AbbVie came in and bought Gilgamesh in a phase 2 because they did the math and they're like, oh my God, if we wait for this to get to market, we'll never be able to buy it.
So that's the encouraging thing about ATAI, because I think this is near and dear to Christian. And let's face it, Christian has done well for himself, and
he's given some cryptic, he can't, insider trading, all sorts of shit. Some of his tweets, he's telegraphing what's coming. And he can't obviously say I'm in talks or something like that until it happens. But he is, when I see that some of those guys' tweets, I'm like, he knows what's coming. He absolutely knows, especially Gilgamesh and AbbVie. Like somebody's going to swoop in and stroke a check for us before we even get to phase 3.
Mitch writes, you own formulations and rent them to big pharma to commercialize. Yes, you do. And that's what we learned.
Great point. Yeah.
David Benz writes, at this point, I'm just in to get my money back. Be patient, my man.
Correct.
But yeah. All right. This has been great. And, if you had to have one last message, if President Trump were to somehow, some way watch this podcast, what would it be?
Mr. President, we need to heal our heroes at home. It's an absolute disgrace that veterans are being forced to go to another country to heal trauma they incurred serving this one. Thank you, Colorado. Thank you, Oregon, Texas Ibogaine Initiative. But these are all states, man. You're the president of these United States. Lead, follower, get out of the way, man. But Shad, I'm heading up to Palm Beach to do a retreat this weekend. We're just going to I got my mouth guard in, my chin strap on, and we're just going to go up the middle and just keep it saving and changing one life, man. It's just it's the butterfly effect. A suicide is a grenade. It is a generational trauma. You know me, man, I try and go on all of our retreats, but if I can't for schedule or whatever, every retreat I've missed, I get texts. Whiz, don't want to kill myself anymore. Thank you, brother. Yeah. You can't put a dollar amount on, you can't put anything on that. So Mr. President, lead. All of your heavies in your administration are for this. What are you doing?
So somebody says, hey, there's no money in that. I don't know if they're accurate in that, but the flip side to that is, how much do you think this would save on the healthcare system on an annual basis?
Well, I told you the VA spends $250 billion a year on PTSD treatment. So at a minimum, and that's not even the civilian sector. You know me, I'm Dr. Mash, I'm on the advisory board for Demerex. We're using Ibogaine to cure alcohol use disorder. Shad, you and I talked offline. I was a drinker. I don't know if you could be a good drinker. I was a horrific drinker up to a year. After sitting with Ibogaine once, if I smelled alcohol, it made me dry heave. It made me sick. Yeah. Now, if Susie and I are having a nice, bowl of pasta, I can have a glass of wine. But old Whiz, a glass of wine was the bottle, or probably two. So
I can relate to that.
Exactly. You've done it as well, man. You've white knuckled it. But Ibogaine, in the blink of an eye, my alcohol was gone. Gotcha. Corn, coffee, alcohol, heroin, coke. Prescription drugs. Marcus Luttrell was on 15 medications before he sat with Ibogaine. 5 to wake up, 5 for lunch, 5 to go to bed. He hasn't taken a single medication in 5 years. Yeah. So long answer to your short question, what's the math? I can't even calculate the potential savings if we can start healing people with what God put on this planet for us to heal.
Yeah. You have any flybys over the Colorado football games this year?
I'm heading up to, you should come, man. Middle of, so December 11 through 14 is that NHL alumni game again, out in Carbondale, just west of Aspen.
Are they doing
Flurry's going to be there. Yeah, Flurry, the King of Madison Square Garden's going to be there.
Who do they play? Who do they play?
It's the NHL alumni. So it's like one group of NHL alumni and then like the Colorado Avalanche alumni. So I'm doing the flyby of the outdoor rink on, I think, the 14th. But it's a whole week of NHL greats in Aspen if you want to come and party.
There was an interesting story. I was with the camera guy that I brought over to Berlin from me. He was from Denver. And before his video production days, he was a waiter at a high-end steakhouse back in the 90s when the Avalanche were winning cups. Some of the stories he was telling me, like 2 o'clock in the morning. And the people don't realize everything shuts down early in Colorado. And some of the players were like, we need more beer. Anyways, sure, there's some good celebrations, but yeah.
You and I both know Daniel Carcillo pretty well, man. He was hell on skates back in the day. So
Harbomb, that's his fucking nickname, right? For a reason. But good to see he's gotten his life turned around and he's got those retreats in Oregon. Any idea on how that's going with him?
It's going so well that I think he's out there right now. He's in Colorado. He's out there looking at real estate, like big, like former ski lodge type of places to open a new clinic in Colorado. So he's got experience onward in Oregon. Now he's expanding into Colorado. He's crushing it, man. He is just saving and changing lives too.
Man, oh man, do something you're passionate about. And I know
you'll never work a day in your life,
right? You become successful and the money is just a reward, but everything else just comes into play. But listen, Amen. Always good catching up with you. Tell the wife and the kids I say hello. And
I will.
Your kids are growing up so much. And this has been great. Let's keep up the good work, my friend.
You bet. God bless. And the water's warm. Get on down to the Sunshine State, bro.
Thanks, brother.
All right, man. See ya.
Thanks, Whiz. Appreciate it. All right. I know a lot of people were hoping to get some feedback. That was a great interview. And look, I know it seems like a good PR standpoint to have a rescheduling announcement around Veterans Day. But like we said, the big takeaway here today is we're not really seeing or hearing it much of anything. But the big thing is, I said, we keep saying this, that yes, I do think change is going to happen with cannabis rescheduling, along with sweeping drug reform, policy shifts that I think will be announced by this Trump administration. But the big important question is timeline. Also learned some key things too about options trading. So hopefully you got some good feedback, but let us know, keep your comments going. And as well, like I always say, make sure to scan that QR code to become a daily baked in newsletter subscriber. Gives you all the latest information each day, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern time, that's delivered to your inbox. Big week coming up next week. Got some interesting guests. We've got a former Wall Street analyst that's talking about why it makes sense to invest in cannabis now. So we'll learn more about that. A few other guests as well, including our weekly Insider's Edge. We'll talk to Michael Bronstein back here 4 o'clock on Monday. And we also are going to be speaking with Margaret Brody from Rubicon Organics on Monday as well. So that's all coming up next week on our latest TDR Trade to Black podcast presented by Dutchie. That's it for today. Appreciate everybody for logging on. Let everybody know that you say hello to AV as well. And we'll see you back all here on Monday at 4 o'clock. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Hey everyone, thanks again for watching here today. Listen, if you're getting value from us here at TDR, make sure to check us out at TDR Plus. It's our exclusive membership community. Why? Well, you'll see CEO interviews that go beyond business, showing a personal side that you won't find anywhere else, including the biggest names of the industry. Plus, you'll get insights from analysts and day traders on where the industry's headed, both short-term and long-term, and a direct chat group with our team. It's only $7 a month, just 25 cents a day, and it helps support everything we do here at TDR. If you want to join, just click the join button below and become a TDR Plus member today. And once again, a big thank you for being part of our community. So that's it for today. And again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.